So I've been involved in cyber really almost 27 years in different capacities, but I think what I've seen is some of the real trends recently is one, cyber, in cybersecurity particularly, used to be seen as a boutique issue or a niche issue that if you talk to a cabinet secretary or a minister, their eyes would roll back in the back of their heads and they say, well, this is a technical issue and give it to the technical people. But there's been a transition where we've started to think about this as a core issue of national security policy, economic policy, human rights policy, and ultimately foreign policy. And I think that's accelerating around the world. When my office was established at the State Department, we were the first cyber diplomat in the world, and that was in 2011. There are now over 30 of them and more and growing. And so that's really important to look at it from just not the technical issue, which is still important, but the policy issues. That's one. The other is, I think, the fact that we have this rise in terms of cyber diplomacy overall, that countries around the world are dedicating people to this. There are bilats and trilats and multilats between all of them. And again, we're really making decisions about how the internet is going to look in the future. Really, I think we're in an inflection point where the decisions we make today is going to really determine what the future of the internet and this technology is like, both economically and from national security perspective. So it's really important that we engage in all these different forums, and there's an explosion of forums that are dealing with cyber. Everyone wants to get into the game, and it's really important we engage. And the third thing I'd say is certainly we've seen a real rise in terms of threats. Criminal threats, terrorist threats, although not terrorist threats to infrastructure, but more using the internet, and then nation-state threats, and we've seen that particularly recently. And what I think the trend is now, and we've seen this, is more countries attributing, calling out bad conduct by bad nations, by countries who do this, and saying you're responsible for this, and doing it collectively, which is good. What we need to see is those same countries coming together and imposing consequences on these bad actors. It's great for us to talk about norms in cyberspace. That's been a big trend. Norms, a stability framework. The commission I'm on now is talking about norms of behavior for states and others in cyberspace. But those are just words on a page if there are no consequences for that. So I think that's really important, all those things together.